And it was funny because, like, I don't know, I joke about doing a handful of venues pre and post. Like, I feel like all I do is education, and then I look at you and go,
Yeah.
no, I don't. No, I don't. Matt
It's
does
different though.
education.
No, it's Jordan. It's different though. I mean, like even in the classroom now, and I hate using the word classroom because I look at it as like a weight room or a learning room. It's it's like the old, and it's funny as I'm talking to you, my phone is on a phone stand because my Google Chrome was out of date. It says so I use my phone, and it's on top of a freaking textbook. It's like the old school textbook way of education and learning is so out the window now. Like in our classrooms, and I know in a lot of good education programs or Cairo or PT or SNC XFiz, they're inside a weight room, inside a human performance labs, and that's where the students need to learn hands on. They can't just think about the stuff; they have to do the stuff.
Now, I mean, maybe we'll backpedal for those of you just joining the conversation. Like, where did you ever? I mean, maybe a little bit of background, obviously, like the boilerplate shit, like who you are, how you got here, and all that. But I'm digging a little bit past that. Did you ever see yourself when you were going through your education, ending up in education?
Yes, and I say that in a weird face because I mean, to me, like I look at coaching, and I'm sure you can attest to this. When I'm coaching, or when you're coaching, we're educating, we're instructing, we're guiding, we're giving feedback. It's kind of like in the same loop. So to me, although I'm in academia full time, I still view myself as a coach. I've done it for 16 years. So the thing that struck for me was I sucked as a student. Like I've been a student since 2007, bachelor's 6 years, licensed in massage, master's degree, PhD, finished up in August, and my second master's right now as well. It's like I've always been a student. So for me, I was like, hey, I need to pay it forward to the student who's not doing well. I mean, it took me 6 years to get an undergrad, which I don't recommend for anyone. But it gave me a lot of life lessons. If I don't fucking know anatomy by now, then I am a problem.
Jesus, you're like the exercise physiology Van Wilder. That's insane. 6 years?
It's a great movie, by
Holy.
the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, to wind it back, 16 years, I guess when you got into it, what's been the major thing you've seen in like the applied science side of strength and conditioning from when you started off cutting your teeth 16 years ago and now? What do you see being like the primary difference, both good or bad?
The old school model is like, I don't know if you remember this, but it's like you try fold the 8 by 11 piece of paper and you put it in the front of your pant, you fold it over type thing with like, shorts are raised up high, shirts tucked in, super militant. And now it's like, hey, like we can be chill and still get the job done when we coach. A more relaxed tone, not as much militant, but as you know, like the sports science, the technology has been a big thing. Everyone and their mother needs to have a force plate, this, and that. And I totally see the value for using technology, but I feel like some people sometimes they just get inundated with the data and because it's cool and it's new, but they lost the art of actually coaching someone, like actually coaching someone through something versus talking about numbers. And I know that's an oversimplification of things, but I just feel like, hey, it should be simple, coach, effect, get results, move in, move out.
Now, I mean, in the last 16 years, you bring up technology, like the adoption of tech in strength and conditioning has been undeniable, whether it's Catapult, whether it's Force Plate and other GPS softwares with Nord boards, all that. How do you how did you initially appraise the utility of tech? Were you an early adopter to some of these? Because you would have been in the weight room when the first time one of these was sort of piloted. Like, how is your approach to tech in strength and conditioning? How has it changed since its first inception?
Yeah, for me, like I was always super apprehensive. I was like, yeah, I'm all set. I'm gonna get my pen and pad and coach. I'm gonna program. I'm gonna educate. Like super apprehensive. But for me, like in the Northeast, as you know, in Boston, as we were joking about earlier, it's saturated with S&C gyms, chiro clinics, PT clinics. There's a lot of performance professionals in our area. So the more and more that I met up with D1, D2, D3 colleges, performance training facilities, sports rehab facilities, I mean, everyone began to use it, and piqued my interest. For us at the college, so technically, so I work at Endicott College. It's in quote unquote Boston, totally in Beverly. I technically work on the academic side. I volunteer on the athletic side, S&C coach, consultant, whatever you want to call me. And they have access to a good amount of technology like Hawk Dynamics force plates. We've been discussions with Vald. I think they have the 1080 motion. There's a bunch of gadgets. And so I'm more or less learning from their director of AP, their head S&C, assistant S&C, and kind of taking that and then running with it.
Now, on the tech side, what do you like? How do you rank order the tech you use? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you prioritize from a data perspective? Because I think there's two conversations when, like I guess the conversation is geared towards someone who's listening to this who's looking to get in S&C. Because I think there's two approaches. There's technical and there's tactical,
Yeah.
right? Like you need to know how to communicate up and down the chain as a strength coach at a higher level, and especially in collegiate settings, especially at the pro level. And unfortunately, when you start to look at people who make decisions around numbers, and meaning dollar signs, they only speak in numbers. Right.
Yeah.
So, wins and losses are usually where people start and then looking to quantify the process all the way down. So, how do you communicate the value of tech to coaches who might either be a little overzealous about the utility of tech, young kids in their TikTok coming into the weight room with all of their, and like how do you put it in perspective where it's like, hey, look, we need some of this because at some point an AD is going to come in or a general manager is going to come in or a head coach is going to come in who doesn't know anything about anything, and you're going to have to be like 7.3 meters per second.
Yeah.
That's faster than 6.2 meters per second. Got it? Okay, good. Practice. Say that back. Right? Like, what does the conversation look like? Because I feel like, a lot of strength coaches or aspiring strength coaches listening to this, they don't know how to contextualize the information for both technical and tactical.
Jordan, I think simple wins, and I know that's such a cop out. Shout out to Starbucks for the plug. For me, it's like if I can't communicate or articulate something, and I don't understand it, how the fuck am I going to get you to understand it, right? Like give me this. Like that's all I need. If you get this as the output, just give me this. Give me a one or two liner. So I think in the conversation, if you're the strength coach, or even if you're working on the sports med side, how do you communicate that in layman's simple? Like give me like a 10-second elevator pitch. If you can't do that, then it's too much for you, and you need to go back to step one. So I just think keep it simple is the number one thing, like short and sweet.
Do you have advice you find yourself giving young coaches, students most often? Because you're in a unique intersection of, being on the academic side, but looking to really, and I hate to use the term because it's just used ad nauseum, bridging the gap between the research. Like,
Yeah,
what is the thing you like? If I could just laminate a card like the Joker and just hand it to
yeah.
every kid that walked in the door, what would it say?
I know this might sound cheesy, but like three words: be yourself. I know that's like again that can go many different directions, but I meet with students and athletes on a week like daily basis, whether it's advising, internship, because we run three internships for the 4 year degree, not one. It's a required three, so it's a very unique model. So three internships: there's advising, there's athletes, there's student athletes, there's students for class, and everyone is just trying to do too much. Like just be yourself. Just fucking chill. Take a deep breath. Like it's gonna be okay. Just be yourself. That's the most important thing. I see a lot of these students and athletes trying to be someone or something they're not. This is not me saying don't aspire to be, but just go out there, be yourself. It'll be easier in the end in that regard.
So, kind of dovetailing off the conversation of technology in the weight room, I think the most pervasive and invasive piece of tech that we've seen in the last 15 years when it comes to strength and conditioning is social media. How
Yeah.
have you, and it's difficult, like, because it's in the S&C world, it's tough to navigate running a session and running a business. In
Mm-hmm.
academia, there's limitations. How have you managed that and managed it so successfully? With, obviously you have a big social media presence as a strength coach, as an educator, but also like dealing with the bureaucratic red tape. Like, what's your overall
Yeah.
view of social media in the S&C world as someone who is like resistant to, sports performance technology? I could imagine that, Instagram was probably like, nah.
Yeah. For me that was part of my sales pitch in my interview for this job. Jordan, so this position, like I've been in the private sector, I've been adjunct, I've been like I'm a mutt. I've been in a lot of different settings in S&C, PT clinics, chiro clinics, healthcare settings, even the senior assisted living center as a group exercise instructor. Write that down.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah,
About a
and up
geriatric Zumba?
and down and out
Stop.
and sort
Dude,
of go because I was
what a
trying to go to PT
Swiss
school.
Army knife. What a
Yeah.
Swiss
So,
Army knife.
dude,
This
I'm
guy.
telling you, I've never learned more than I learned from that population. I know people watching this like, oh, well, you're working in athletic performance, like that's bull. Like, I'm telling you, you learn a lot of different things with a lot of different people, especially that population. But for me, part of my sales pitch was to the college was, all right, this is a hybrid role. There's internship coordinating. There's talking to prospective S&C sites, PT sites, chiropractic sites, there's garnering relationships, there's going networking, there's advising, there's teaching. Basically, you want me to do a bunch of shit that I'm already doing. If you're going to bring me in, I also have a side business or businesses, plural, and you need to be cool with that in lesser words. And they were completely cool with that. I obviously can't solicit my stuff in the classroom, but when a student hits me up on Instagram, which is, is outside of the classroom, it's what am I supposed to do? That's outside of the territory of the 9 to 5. So for me, it was like, I'm not the best, I'm not the smartest, far from, but I'm very fucking good at organizational skills. Like, I'm very good at time management. So for me, being able to manage all those things, like my schedule, and I'm sure you're the same because you're traveling a bunch, you have to be organized. My schedule is like blocked out, color coordinated every day. And some people think that's OCD, but like, I never miss a meeting. I'm always on time. I get my stuff done. I hit due dates. So I think those skills cater themselves well to running or doing multiple things versus someone who, these people like, hey bro, I'm tired. Like, all right, I work a 9 to 5. That's all you're doing. Great. You have a smaller plate. That's okay. I just have a bigger plate. Doesn't mean I'm better or smarter. It's just I do better with a lot on my plate.
Was that something that you were always tended to behaviorally, or is that something you sort of adapted and adopted over time?
I would say behaviorally. I mean, my father's from the Middle East, so Lebanon. He's Lebanese, Armenian, and Arabic. That's the Ibrahim. And my
I knew
mom,
I fucking liked you. Yo, Lev, shout out. Yo, we're gonna have Knefe after this. What are we talking
oh, dude,
about?
it's my favorite thing of all time.
Oh,
My grandma,
people don't know.
my Mez mama used to make it from scratch. Oh, now I'm hungry. But so he came here alone at 16 because she was in the hospitality business. She ran hotels in Lebanon, and his father was in the car sales industry. So sales, selling, service, and he's owned a salon for over 40 years. So he's in the service industry. My mom came here as an immigrant from Italy, from Calabria, when she was 9 with her 4 siblings, her mom and dad. So like that kind of like head down, hard work mentality, that's always just been in me. And it's kind of how I've always operated.
Lebanese people could literally sell you the shoes you're wearing on your feet. Like you go to Beirut, god damn.
Yeah,
So
it's
now
true.
how do you impart that, right? Because I think
Yeah.
there is a hybrid strength coach, social media presence, educator that's very fetching, right? Like I think of you, I
Yeah.
think of Meg Young, I think of Corey
Yep.
Schlesinger, I think of Max Schmarzo, right? Like modern
Yep.
day sort of Mount Rushmore.
Ramsey,
Uh,
Ramsey,
oh,
my
Ramsey,
big
yeah,
shit.
for
Yeah, Ramsey's great.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, what a pedigree coming out of Sacramento, then going to the
Yeah.
Jayhawks, like, and there's a cohort, I don't want to say underneath them, but coming up, and they want to do that.
Yeah.
For you, if you were to maybe list 4 or 5 attributes that you think were integral and maybe rank order them, like, all right, if you're an up and coming coach, right, you're cutting your teeth in a high school setting, maybe you're doing some stuff in the private sector, maybe you got some clients who are coming out of going into a college or something like that, the intangibles that you need to evolve in this industry are bam,
Yeah.
bam,
Yeah.
bam.
Yeah. Good questions, by the way, Jordan. And I can tell you didn't write these down. You're
No,
you're a cerebral guy.
it's the coffee, dog. Shout out
They're floating in
Starbucks.
the
Yeah,
atmosphere.
that's it. That's it.
Number one, this piggybacks off of yourself. Authenticity. If you are not who you say you are, act as you are, like people are gonna see through the bullshit. And that to me is the most important thing. Be authentic. Like that has to be, and that has to be your message too. Like I'll screw up all the time in some of my IG videos when I shoot with my videographer. I mean, put the videos. I'm like, no, keep it. Like I don't care if I mumble or screw. Like just fucking keep it. Like it's relatability. Like it should be raw. So be authentic. Number two, care. And like I don't mean like the emotion. I mean if you don't if I can't tell by your ethos that you care about what you're doing, you care about your athletes, you care about the results, you care about the performance, you care about keeping them healthy. If I can't tell that just from your ethos and from how you act, then you shouldn't be doing it, right? So be authentic. You got to care a lot about what you're doing. You said 5. Shit, this is tough. Yeah. Okay. Biggest, most important thing is detail oriented, and I don't mean like be a stats geek or a stats nerd. Just like there's details to everything. So like the good example, like in your world it's eval, in my world it's assessment. It's the same thing. We're looking under the hood of the car, see what's going on. We'll do a diagnosis and then run from there. The devil's in the details. You have to be extremely detail oriented. So when you're putting out content, and I know this is an Instagram question or social media, when you're putting out content, think of like, what's the message I'm trying to convey? And what are the details that the consumer, like when I post, sure, I'm super happy if Jordan Shallow gives me a like. I care more if the consumer, what up, dog? I care more if a consumer, someone that I'm selling something to or educating someone to, likes it. And like that to me is more meaningful. That should be like who you're sending the message to. So it's detail oriented. Number four, this is really freaking tough. Number four is sell. And I think that word, like, it kind of feels sleazy. When I'm coaching Jordan through a squat, I am selling to Jordan the technique or the way to do a squat. I'm selling him that exercise. Like, people forget that. Like, oh, well, I'm an S&C collegiate. Like, this is, it's not the way we roll. Like, dude, if you're in private S&C, doesn't, or the collegiate or pro, you're selling something. It is, we need to get comfortable with that. The fifth one is, geez, you got me against the wall here. I'm pinned. The fifth one, so we say authentic. You got to care, detail oriented, sell, be nice. Like, just literally be nice to people. Like, okay, I went to the Bruins game with Charlie Weingroff on Tuesday. I
Wow.
put a post out there like 10. It was like 11, 12 years ago. I used to have, my brand name was Mobility 101, I think it was. And my wife surprised me and got, I don't know if you remember the Boston Sports Medicine Performance Group seminars. I was at Northeastern. Art Horn, when he's with the Celts, when he was at Northeastern, he used to run them. Like, a bunch of people would go. Sea-Wagon would always go. And he was like, this is when he was like much bigger in powerlifting. And he was like he was the rock star at the time for me. And fast forward to now, like, like I'm friendly with him. We speak at Perform Better. Like, I'm super grateful. But to me, it's like, just being raw with information and putting the material out there and being okay with like just being vulnerable but being nice as well. Because I never forget his Training Equals Rehab DVD seminar or a series. It was I don't know, it was a long time ago. It's when DVDs were a thing. He literally opens up and says, if you reach out to me, if you message me, if you DM me, private, whatever, I will get back to you. I'll get back to all of it. I was like, damn, that's fucking powerful. Like that busy of a guy. So for me, how can I be nice to someone on social? Like, hit them up. If they DM back. Like, just be nice to all people. I think that's a very underrated skill. And I hate that we're calling it a skill, but in today's society, like, being nice is like, holy shit, like, they opened the door for me. Wow, they said thank you,